And it's another Saturday, just like that. It's Paul Toby from jazzmental.com. Thanks for joining me for another one of these masterclass sessions that we host every Saturday. There are some deeply committed people who are here week to week already in the chat area. If you are new for any reason, we communicate in the chat, and typically what we like to do is share our name and where we're from. Let's do a quick sound check before we do anything else. Make sure you can hear me clearly on the microphone, and also let's just test a little bit of the piano level. Okay. Let me know, for those of you that are used to me doing sound checks. Of course, I can't hear what's on your end, so let's just make sure we're all good before we get started. Today, we're going to be taking a look at a very old standard. It's called After You've Gone. Now, many people have done this over the years. Frank Sinatra is probably the most recognizable version. He did a big band version, actually, back in the 80s. And it's just a great tune, and some of the things that I wanted to talk about in this tune are pretty basic concepts. And I know that a lot of times we like to go super advanced, and we like to talk about really advanced chord progressions, things like that. In this, the progression is fairly simple. The melody is not that easy to pick up, but the progression is fairly simple. And it starts on actually 4 major 7, and we're going to talk about some things that you can do with it that you can add to this tune and to other tunes as well. Thanks for the feedback on the sound. I super appreciate it. Let's start off like we normally start off, and let's give you a sheet music link. This time around, no email necessary, so just click the link and download. There you go. I just put it in the chat, and I pinned it to the top of the chat right now. There you go. Go grab that. Let me know that you were able to download it okay. And I'm going to put it on your screen. It's a simple lead sheet this week because sometimes we go overboard and have lots and lots of arranging done, and I do all the work for you. But this week, what I decided to do was just give you my chord changes and a lead sheet that can help you play this tune. For those of you that are saying hi to Nancy, I appreciate that. Not our best week, but we're still trending sort of upward. And anyway, Nancy appreciates everyone who gives a shout out to her. I know that many of you are familiar with her story, and if you're not familiar, that's okay. It suffices to say that we've had some health challenges the last year or so, but we're still going, so it's good. Let's just give a quick shout out to a lot of you that are in the chat area. I'll just shout out some first names, and these are people that I recognize week to week. Rich and Friedrich, Shell, Peter, Keith, Alan, Bill, Allison, Dawn, Jess, Jerry, Peter, Emilio, John, Francia, good to see you. And again, we communicate in the chat area, so any questions that you have about the content from today, just post them in the chat area. Let me know that you were able to grab the sheet music. That would be helpful as well. I'm going to go ahead and play like I normally do at the beginning of the session. I haven't had a big chance to warm up, so we'll see how this goes. Not setting out any excuses or anything, but yeah, I like playing sometimes from scratch to kind of see what shows up on a Saturday morning at 11 a.m. For me, anyway. I'm not exactly sure what time it is for you, but I can see there are people here from all over the world, including Paul from Belgium and Venezuela, Francia, and pretty much everywhere. And it's great to have everyone here. So let's play a little bit of After You've Gone, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of the things. I also wanted to let you know that throughout today's session, I'm going to talk a little bit about some questions that I've received lately about what I do and why I do it. And some people are talking about retirement and things like that. So I'm going to lay out some ideas for you that can maybe help you with your music and with your life as well. So there you go. Download successful. Thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that. I'm going to take the sheet music off your screen. If you've already downloaded it, watch it, pay attention to it. And I just take it off the screen so it's not distracting. And let's just throw the piano mics on and the audio off. And we'll see you in a few minutes after I play. Yeah, Bill, I think the word sweet definitely applies to this tune. It is very major in nature, very tonal. There's not too much happening in terms of like modern jazz. It's a very old tune. I think it was written in like 1918 or something like that. And it's just sometimes when you play these standards, you have to reflect the style of the music. And that's really what I tried to do here. There wasn't a lot of like chordal playing or modal playing. It was just pretty much sticking to the genre and playing sort of like that medium swing ballad style. So yeah, I think the word sweet definitely applies. Just a quick shout out to Ray and Mike and Lawrence from various places, Rhode Island and Germany, and Peter from Italy. It's nice to see you again, of course, as always. And Ben, good to see you too. All right, let's do a couple of things. So I was thinking about this tune, and I had some ideas to share with you about. There was like block chord ideas. There was some things to do with 2-5-1 progressions. But one of the things that I did in there that I'm not sure if you picked up on, and that was, and I think the best place to talk about this is to maybe put a screenshot up. So let me just grab one. I forgot to do that earlier, but it's not going to take long. So you'll notice that there's a couple of things here. The key is B flat. Yes? I mean, that's obvious. And of course, it ends on B flat if you look at the last chord of the tune, which is typically where it gets the key signature from. Not always the first chord, because the first chord is 4 major 7. Now, you'll probably notice that when I came into this, so let's just play it from the top. And then whatever the chords you choose, we'll talk about this in a minute, but. And then it gets to 1 here, to 6. 2, 5. And then it wants to go to 1. Right? But it doesn't. It goes back to 4. So the way that I do that, I did it a few times, is I'll put an E down here, some kind of E7 chord. Like that. Does that make sense? Because I think what you're trying to do, I think if you just go to E flat, it works, right? But it's nicer if you slide into it. So that's the first thing I wanted to talk about. Of course, we can expand on these ideas in the chat area. So if you think to yourself, okay, well, what voicing are you using for E7? I would answer that question. So it's up to you to guide me through today's process. Just things that you hear that you pick up on that you want to learn about. But anyway, typically what I did there was I put fists in the left hand, so E and B, and then I just slide down to E flat like this. And then the right hand, just a third and the 7th. You don't want to do big chords here because it kind of takes away from the fact that you're going to E flat. You just want to slide easily into it. So then let's play it from the second line. I think it's a lovely tune. I'm not sure how you feel about it. when my fingers go down on the keys, they just want to like caress the keys because it's just such a beautiful expression of this particular key, which is B flat. And it just kind of floats along in this sort of like slow swing tempo, and it just kind of sucks you in, and my fingers just want to keep playing. So I have to stop myself and talk about stuff. Hey, Emoti, good to see you. Philip, James. All right. The next thing I wanted to talk about is if you take a look at the first chord, of course, it's a 4 major 7. So we slid into it. And then you can just play the melody right. But what I like to do in that particular case, because it's so tonal, just play from the scale. So you've got B flat major scale. Of course, you've got an F natural in there. And you just sort of like float in the chord. And you could do it any number of ways. You can keep the left hand on a chord like this. That works too. Or you can play right hand chords and left hand chords together. But it's just all over E flat major 7. It's just nicer than doing this. You can even slide the left hand from C to C sharp to D. Like that. Interesting thing about the E flat minor 6th, that's this chord. I think you can play the whole bar. I typically play it just as A flat, some kind of A flat chord. Could even be a D7 with a sharp 11. You want to get a little bit more dissonant. So like E flat, and then throw this chord in, like a D7 sharp 9 or an A flat. What is this? A flat with a 9 and a 13. Nice chord. It does have this fourths in it, so that's kind of nice. And then you can do the same thing for B flat. I noticed some versions that went to D minor there on the 4th bar. We're talking about here. They separated this out and they put D minor 7 to G7. I don't know. I think it's the nature of the tune to kind of plop down the most obvious bass note, and that to me is G. So if we did it D minor, it sounds like this. It's just nice to base the thing in some tonality like this. How many of you would agree with that? So one more time, going to D minor. And this time just going straight to G. I did it again. I love that. To me, that works really, really well. Hope that makes sense to everyone. Let's check in the chat and see what you're up to, see if there are any questions. Modi says, funny thing, you should mention B flat and floating. I have that in B flat, F, and E flat as well. Not sure exactly what you're trying to mention, but if you could clarify, that would be great. And Dawn agrees with me about going to G. I think, again, Dawn and everyone else, you have to stick to the genre. You can't just throw in a billion chords with reharm and all this stuff. It's really, sometimes you just have to stay in the style of the tune because that's what the melody dictates. Just kind of like swings back and forth, right? Bass note. Bass note. All I did there, getting to the B section, is I just played some kind of blues. We talked about this the other day in the advanced masterclass, and I think Allison was mentioning, she said, you know, Paul, you always said you never miss an opportunity to put in the blues. And there's an example of where I did it. Larry, the score is downloadable. The link is at the top of the chat. Go download it there. Thank you. What was I talking about? Right. So I did, at the end of the bar, to get back to B section, to the E flat, I did some blues on B7. So, and just floated down to the E flat. So let's do that from the last two bars of A section. Whatever blues you want to do there, it would be fine to do that, right? You just have to give yourself some space to do it. Yeah. So PJ, our transcriber, says he played it with the big band at college. Yeah. I've heard this tune as a big band arrangement. In fact, go check out the Frank Sinatra big band version. It's amazing. Allison says, yeah, I heard the blues the first time you played it. Thank you. David, slipping from E to E flat is like a cushion effect. Yes. Easing into a soft chair. I really like that. Thank you. Just need to check quickly on something. Okay, we're back. Where can we go next with this thing? You know what? I want to take just a quick break from it. I did want to discuss this last section where you've got all of this stuff going on. The melody really gets excitable here. That's from the era. This whole like... Those are enclosures, right? This is pretty common. Okay. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. I did want to take a brief pause from music for a second, and I wanted to discuss something that I really feel strongly about. Because a lot of you are like, I get a lot of questions about what I should do next from people at various stages. In fact, I received one this week from a gentleman who belongs to the jazz pianist group, and he said that he wasn't sure if he should be taking the beginner course that I just posted this week, or if he should be in the advanced master classes, or if he should just be going somewhere else. And my response to that was, well, post your current level of playing, and the only way that I can ascertain what that level is just by hearing it. So post a video, and I'll look at it. But I think it's more than that, and I really wanted to stress a couple of things about next steps for people. Because nothing in life happens by accident. Everything is, at least in my view, the best things in life do not happen by accident. They happen as a result of intention. You set an intention and you create the life that you want, whether that's in music or whatever, relationships or even health-wise. So what I wanted to do is just, I'm going to throw up a quick whiteboard here. And I wanted to talk to you about something that I was used to doing for a lot of companies in business, and I did it in the music world as well. And I call the path or the mechanism is like this. So intention plus mechanism equals, and I should probably make this a little bit thinner so you can read it, results. So the intention that we set is what we want to create, and the mechanism is how we're going to go about that. But what I want to focus on pretty much is the word results. And the way that I've done that for people in business, and I've been in the business world for a long time, pretty much after the music business kind of crashed and burned in my 40s. But let me just erase this because I wanted to be super clear about something. If I would go into a company or into an organization or into a university or into a big band or in whatever situation that I was trying to help and insert my experience into that situation, I would always start with this. It's like, well, what is your vision? And in most cases, you'd get all kinds of strange answers because I would just say, well, what's your vision for the organization? What's your vision for music? And they would say various random things that had no basis in a process. So I would always then just break down vision into a process. So vision is kind of like this overarching thing that is not definable. So the way to define it is this. The very first part, it's basically three parts. Part one is this, is mission. Mission is essentially just breaks down to, well, where are we going? And so you have to ask yourself, if you're going to do this music thing, and I talk a lot about this in the advanced master class as well with my core people, it's because it's not enough to just do things randomly. You have to kind of pick an end destination. For example, I'm sure you have enough common sense to know that if you were going on a vacation, you wouldn't go, oh, I'm just going to go on vacation. And then somebody asks you where you're going, and you just say, well, I don't know. And then you just sort of do something. Like I like vacations that is mostly I don't know, but at least I know I'm going to a country. For example, when I travel, I know where I'm landing. To me, that's a destination. So where are we going? In music, where are we going? What is the ultimate destination for you? You have to ask yourself, what do you think you're capable of? And then add 20 or 50 or even 100% to that and go beyond what you think you're capable of. But pick a destination and be very clear about that, because clarity is power. So number two is, well, if we're going to go there, why are we going to go there? And we call that, let's do it this way. We call that purpose. And the purpose is why? Why are we going to go to Portugal? My answer to that was, it sounds great. I've never been there before. It's someplace I'd love to go. But it's a little more tricky when you're talking about something that's going to require a lot more than just buying a plane ticket. For example, a musical destination. So my purpose to start the YouTube channel, well, why would I do something like that? Because people say, well, it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of effort. Yes, it does. It's almost like the slow boat to China thing. But I also know this. Why am I going to do that? And you need to be able to answer that question. For me, the answer to that question is fairly simple. It's like, why do we do these classes on Saturday? Why do we have advanced master classes? Why do I post transcriptions? Why do I do anything that I do surrounding music? And my answer is very specific. And here it is. You might want to write this. This is what I call a writer downer. Help enough people get what they want, and you can have what you want. I'm trying to think about the first time I heard that, but I believe it was Tremendous Jones. Help enough people get what they want, and you can have what you want. And that's my purpose for this stuff that we do. Yes, I absolutely love to play. Yes, I practice really, really consistently. I don't practice hard, I practice consistently. Yes, I learn new things all the time. Yes, I'm constantly answering questions. I'm constantly putting out product. I'm constantly helping as much as I can to help you reach whatever destination you want to reach. But again, you have to have your own vision. My vision for this is very specific. I'm just trying to get out of the business world, get totally 100% back in the music world so you can have 100% of me and I can retire. Because to me, if I did this every day and I helped more people, I could, and it provided enough income because, you know, as a musician, we don't have big pension plans. In business, we didn't have pension plans. We rely on the value of the business and what that creates. So if I were to get out of that world, which I'm still in, and I were to give 100% of my purpose and energy to you, that's why I would do it. Just 100%. It's because I love to do it. I hope that made sense. And then there's the third part of this thing, which I think is the hardest part. And that's part 3. And that is how are we going to do that? So this is where we're going. This is why we're doing that. But how are we going to do that? And to me, the answer is I want to surround myself with people such as you that have the same core values. A core value is not something necessary. I mean, yeah, you can teach core values to people, but they kind of have to come to the table with them. So the reason why a lot of us later in life are reigniting our passion for music is because that's part of our core values. That's what we value most on the planet, is to be able to make great music. So when anybody ever asks you and say, well, what are you going to do with your music? And then your response is, well, I have vision. And we'll say, well, what is your vision? Well, I have a mission, I have a purpose, and I have core values. Well, what are those? In business, for core values, we used to write down 10 core values. It would take us a whole day to kind of imagine these things with a company. And that's how you would hire. You would hire people based on core values. Skills can always be taught. For example, piano skills, that can always be taught. But to have the core value, that the thing you value most in life to be jazz and this genre of music, that's a very specific and unique and very special thing. So that's why I love hanging out with you, because we all have the same core values. In business, it's not always like that. People hire people based on skills and then find out very soon that they're culture killers. Anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you. I'm not sure if you have any feedback on any of that, but that's how I feel about this whole thing. And just so you know, my purpose, why do I do it? Because I'm driven by it, but I know that if I help you get what you want, and enough of you get what you want, I can retire and I can just do this full time, which I'd really love to do. Allison says, yeah, I agree. Be useful in the world. Modi's got some great responses. When you love what you do, it's not work. Absolutely. Martin says, hey, Paul, I'm late. We're going to get back into music just now. Martin's probably showing up. He's like, what? I thought I was attending like a workshop on After You've Gone, which is now on your screen again because I want to continue with it. Actually, let's go grab the screenshot. And any other questions or comments that you have about what I just talked about is always welcome. So thank you for allowing me to share that with you. I thought it was important to kind of get that out there. Just grabbing a screenshot of the last section here. Okay. So just like the first 4 bars getting into B section starts on the same first 4 bars as the first 4 bars. So it's just repeating. So you've got, make sure I'm on the right page here. We did this. We slipped what you called the cushion. And then it changes. So instead of just 4 more bars, there's now 8 more bars. Now, I wanted to say something about this chord here. You'll notice that a lot of the time in this thing, I'm going back and forth between bass notes and chords, between playing bass notes with the left hand and then playing chords with the left hand. So in this particular case, I just want to go and play a chord. Because I've got bass, bass. And so what I did there was I slid into this voicing for F7 flat 9. There's your flat 9, and there's your 13. Okay, so what I did with the left hand was I duplicated the melody, and I do this a lot, and I slid into it from C to C sharp to D. You get that sound? That's a sound that is very Bill Evans, where you've got these sort of little quick inner lines happening. Pluck down a bass note because there's nothing on beat 1 of B flat. There's an eighth note, rest. So play the bass. Now, I didn't play a lot of chords here. I just kind of went down the scale. And then just came up from C sharp to D minor, like that. Let's play the line again. This line is so beautiful. It's nice to highlight it without a lot going on. So just from here to here, I'm just playing the melody note and a single note in the left hand, and then when I get to these 2 chords, I'm starting to get back into it. So just a reprieve from chords, just to kind of highlight the melody. It's a technique that is, I think, important to highlight in this particular area. Let's start from B section. Again, I get a little carried away. As soon as the music starts to get into me, I just keep going. Some nice comments. Bill says, I really hope you achieve this. Paul, I'm pulling for you. Worthy goal. I have a feeling you will. I definitely will. I think it's important to have vision. And I do want to make music my full-time retirement plan. I wish that, I mean, for those of you that don't know, when I left the music business as a professional touring recording artist at the age of 41 for reasons which were not my own, I was forced out because of my arms, but I was broke at that time. So being flat broke with a family in your early 40s is not the greatest thing. And so I had to get into business because, most companies don't need piano players. So I wasn't able to get a job. So I had to start a business. And that's what I've been doing sort of like for the last 25 years. And, well, it's not that long, but the process of getting back into music it's not obvious. You can't just go at my age, you can't just go and start getting gigs again. It's not possible. I mean, I could do that, but I don't really want to do that. I just wanted to go back and play concerts, which I do, 3 to 5 concerts a year, which is really nice, but that's not going to pay any bills. So I had to create something for my retirement if I was ever going to leave the business. And that's my intention, and that's what I really want to do. So thank you. I'm glad you're pulling for me, Bill. If I do this, by the way, you're going to see a lot more of me, and you're going to have a lot more of me. maybe some of you want that, maybe some of you don't. I'm not quite sure. Okay. Thank you, others, for the comments as well. So here's what I'm going to do at this point. It is 15 minutes to the hour. Let's play the tune one more time, see what comes out of it, and then try to listen this time for some new ideas that I'm pushing. I'm not sure what they're going to be or how it's going to come out, but at least have a listen to it and see what you think. Give me some feedback. That would be really nice. And let me know if you want to discuss anything that I play. And we'll have some time at the end of this for sure to rediscuss the intention of today's music. I mean, it's just such a a lovely, lovely tune. It just wants to be played, this tune. Do you ever notice that some tunes, you play them and you wonder why you're not inspired by the tune, and then other tunes you play them and it just sucks you in and just drives you, and you just want to make music from it? David says, this tune is so relaxing the way you play it. Yeah, that's the way I feel about it. Definitely. Thank you. Alan says, specific question. I have to zoom in on my eyes on this one. In the past, does that say past? In the past bar turnaround, you did a beautiful cascade of sorts down the F7. Would you describe your thinking there? Don says, super playing. Thank you. Appreciate that. Not a great day here in Niagara-on-the-Lake weather-wise, eh, Don? Specific question. In the past bar turnaround, you did a beautiful cascade of chords down the F7. Okay, well, let me put the sheet music back on the screen for a second. So there, obviously the F7 appears in multiple places, and it's just basically getting us back to E flat. So normally F7 would resolve to B flat. So here's my thinking. So let's take it from the end of the tune. Well, no, actually, so let's do. Okay, so here's, I mean, I would think of it differently every single time, but I want to get to E flat. So to me, because in the cycle of fifths, E flat is below B flat. Like if you go cycle of fifths, right? B flat down to E flat, down to A flat, down to D flat, right? Everything feels like it falls because B flat is 5 of E flat. So I'm not using a B flat 7 chord there. I'm using an F7 chord, but it still wants to fall. So the idea is to kind of cascade down the piano. And so I think about a couple things. In this particular case, what I was thinking at that time was a B7. So a B7 chord is, as we know, the tritone substitution of F7. It works really well in this turnaround. So if you got B flat to G7 of some kind, to C minor, and then B7. It's kind of like the same idea here, where you're going tritone substitution of B flat down to E. But the tritone substitution before that is B7. So of F7 is B7. If you play that, you'll notice very quickly that it's kind of like a whole tone scale. So what I would do is I would kind of figure out a way to kind of cascade down the whole tone scale. And to the ear, it's kind of like, wow, that sounds so cool. But to the fingers, it's easy because it's a whole tone scale. There's two of them, right? This is the second one. This is the first one. The other one is this. And if you just play chords on those things, like just anything, it works because there's no minor seconds anywhere in there. So it just kind of floats a little bit, but it sounds kind of cool. So B flat. And then we're going to go to B7 and play some kind of like whole tone thing. Down to E flat. And they're like I said, there's two of them. That's the second one. But make sure you resolve it because you can't stay there, right? You can't stay there. That needs to go somewhere, or this needs to go somewhere. But how cool is it, right? So, and that's just one thought. The other thought was, if we took like a B major scale and we came down the B major scale in fourths with the third on the top, you get this. That's another idea. So everything wants to float down to that E flat. So I'm just using different ideas to get there. That was cool, right? Right, and really what you're doing is just playing single notes or sometimes two notes with the left hand, and the right hand is playing like 3 or 4. See what other trouble we can get into. A little more atonal, but yeah, that was whole tone scale. Thanks for the question. I'm not sure if I answered it because there's so many answers for that question. Mm-hmm. Love the ba-da-ba-da-ba day rhythm figure you used throughout the piece, just on the words after you've gone. Yes, that's true. Da do do do. That's basically the whole tune. Exactly. You got it. Carlos from Chile. Great music. Thanks. Unfortunately, when you speak, I hear your speech echo. Check 1 2. I don't know. Is anybody else hearing an echo? Sorry about that. Carlos, I don't think it's that bad. I mean, the piano mics do pick up my voice some, but this is pretty much a close mic, so it should overwrite that a little bit. I mean, if I shut the piano mics off, I can do that, but I would never forget to turn them back on, and then you'd hear this, which is really not a lot. So it's a give and take a little bit, so I apologize if there's an echo. I'm just wondering if anybody else hears an echo that's really annoying. I actually listen back to these live streams, and I don't hear it. So maybe it's specifically the way you have your stereo set up. I'm not sure. Stereo sound. Anyway, thanks for the comment anyway. No echo over here, says Emoti. So yeah, I don't know. Some people hear it, some people don't. That's okay. Don says, Carlos, I hear the sound fine, so your issue may be at your end. Okay. I guess we've sorted that. Everybody else seems to be fine. Okay. So listen, folks, it is Thanksgiving here in Canada. I thought I'd share a little something with you before you go. One of the things about vision and mission, purpose, and core values is that if part of your mission is to expand on your harmonic knowledge of jazz, to that end, I'm going to throw up an offer in the chat area and then pin it to the top of the chat. And basically what it is over the next 3 months, if you want to join us for our advanced masterclasses, I'm going to take 40% off for the next 3 months, which it's never going to get better than that. The offer runs until next Wednesday at midnight. You can take your first one, and if you want your money back, I'll give you like 14 days to ask for a refund. It's part of our refund policy. But essentially, after the 14 days, you'll have to keep going. But I think it's probably the best offer you're ever going to get from me. Use the coupon code FALLMASTERY because it's fall and it's Thanksgiving, and I wanted to give you something. And I hope that one day you'll consider joining us. There are a lot of people in today's masterclass that are part of that group. And if I could get a little bit of feedback on, hey, Paul, love the advanced masterclasses or jazz piano mastery, that would be great. And Modi's like, wow, what a bargain. Yeah, because, they're paying obviously more than that. But anyway, so there you go. Next 3 months, if you want in, there you go. It's also on the second page of the download that you downloaded today. And just go check it out. You have until Wednesday. And I wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, even though in America it's not Thanksgiving until like the end of November. But it is here, so I'll say it. And we will see everybody next Saturday, same time, same place, for the Jazz Mental YouTube channel live stream sessions. My name is Paul Toby. I hope you had a great time. I loved this tune, and I hope you love it too. And we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.